Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to make friends as an expat in the UK. Now, I am what you would call an introvert. I am literally an introverted expat, and making friends back in my home country, back in Canada, was difficult enough. Here in the UK, it has just like an added layer of difficulty, but it's not impossible. Now, whether you are introverted or extroverted, if you are an expat in the UK, I find the best way to meet people and to make friends is to do something on some type of schedule. So it's something that you do perhaps once a week or once a month, somewhere that there's going to be a similar group of people that you can slowly over time get to know, hopefully find a couple of friends, but it's really this like scheduled thing makes all the difference. Because I'm not someone who can just go up to somebody in the queue at the post office and make a friend. It's just not gonna happen. Now, a very helpful way to meet people and hopefully make friends from meeting said people is to join groups or clubs or meetups, or all three. Why not? So this could be things like photography clubs. I know loads of different photography clubs or photography groups where people get together and simply go out and take pictures. Or things like joining a pub quiz. Pub quizzes are super popular here in the UK, around the UK. If you have a local pub in your town or village or city, you can pretty much guarantee that there will be a pub quiz. Another thing could be like board game clubs. There's actually a lot of board game cafes here in the UK, and I know a lot of them run like an event or like an evening where you can join, like you can sign up and you're thrown in with a bunch of different people and you play different types of board games and that kind of stuff. So you have an activity that you're doing and it's fun and you get to meet people in the process in a very like low pressure kind of way. Another option I would recommend are Facebook groups or meetup.com. So both of them work kind of in similar ways in that find a group that interests you, join said group, and go to a meetup. So one of the ways I actually met some of my friends was I was in a Facebook group for a particular podcast that I really liked. I posted in there that I was new to the UK and would anyone want to create like a local meetup? So I organized a meetup through this Facebook group and a couple of us met up and we became friends. The idea is that when you have something in common, like we all liked this particular podcast, it was like the jumping off point for us to get to know each other. So we already all had this common interest. We had something that we could talk about when things get a little bit awkward and you don't know what to say. And then because we had this interest, we realized we had other similar interests as well. Another thing that I've tried, and it's kind of been hit or miss, is Meetup. So of course, Meetup is more like a structured meetup scheduling thing. How do you even call it? It's Meetup. So basically, you make a profile, you plug in your interests, you plug in your location, and you can see meetup groups in your area. And then, of course, you could join the meetup. They schedule meetups. You then go to said meetup. I don't know how many times I can say meetup, but it does work. So one in particular that I went to was a local one to me, and it was like girls' night out. And it was basically just a bunch of local women who wanted to get together, go to a pub for dinner or for drinks, and just get to know each other. So it was anxious and it was awkward, but it is a great way to meet people. The only downside is if there are no meetups that you are interested in or there's no meetups near you, that can be a bit difficult. But you could always make your own. It's certainly worth a look, both with Facebook and with Meetup. If there isn't something that suits your needs, perhaps you can make something, because if you like something in your area, it's kind of likely that there's gonna be somebody else that does too. Next up, I would look into sports teams or classes when trying to meet people and make friends here in the UK. So there are loads of sports teams just about everywhere in a variety of different sports. So if you are particularly sporty, it is a great way to meet people. Unfortunately, I am not. I am not sporty, but for us who are not sporty, perhaps you want to look into things like fitness classes, so spin classes, yoga classes, Pilates classes. I did a Pilates class years ago at a local rec center, and that was wonderful. I didn't necessarily meet like lasting relationships from my Pilates class, but to be honest, it was just really nice to meet people and like be around people. Plus you get to do something active, you get to do a interesting fitness class. So you feel, you know, like you're productive and stuff. It was a great experience. Even though I didn't make friends from it, I felt very connected to my community doing that kind of stuff. And when you first move to the UK and it feels very isolating and lonely, it is just a great way to surround yourself with people. Other fitness groups or classes could be like running clubs. Park run is a big thing here in the UK. You can Google park run and you can register for your local park run. So if you're into running or hiking groups or walking groups, there's lots of stuff around the UK. We have such a beautiful countryside and such a beautiful landscape that there are lots of outdoor activities like that. Another way you can meet people in the UK is with volunteering. Now, this is tricky, especially if you are working full-time and you just don't have extra time. But if you are able to swing your schedule just a certain way, just get a little bit of extra time that you are able to volunteer, it is a great way to not only do something positive and something that can be very rewarding, but you can also meet people. So volunteering is not necessarily something that's gonna work for everybody, but it is a great option if you are able to make it work with your schedule. Another way to meet people here in the UK is using apps. So one that I've used is Bumble BFF. And basically you create a profile, you upload some photos, you upload what you're interested in, and then you can be matched with local people who are also looking for friends. So Bumble, of course, is a dating app, but they have this separate project called Bumble BFF. So it is separate to the dating app, but it is very similar in its structure. So it can kind of be hit or miss in terms of finding people local or finding people who actually want to meet up and make friends, because the whole process of making friends can be really difficult and time consuming and stressful. So I've had some success with Bumble and other times I've had less success, but it's definitely a great option, at least to try out. Now, another thing I always recommend to fellow expats is to say yes at work. If you are coming to the UK and you will be working, work is a great place to meet people because you are going to be surrounded by people all day, every day. And while working kind of sucks, it is a great way to meet people because you're kind of forced. You're forced to be around these people and hopefully you can find some people that you have something in common with. Make sure to say yes to work parties, to Christmas dues. Those are always quite a big thing. If people are going out to the pub after work, say yes. I know sometimes the knee-jerk reaction is to say no to those types of invitations. Maybe you think they're just saying that because they're trying to be nice, and maybe they are, but at the same time, I would still say go for it because you never know who you're going to really click with unless you try. So just be open to accepting invitations at work. It is so common to go to the pub after work, especially on a Friday. And that's a great place to get to know people and see what they are like outside of work. And you may even meet your colleagues' friends who you could also be friends with. And I would absolutely say yes to the Christmas party or the Christmas do. It is a big part of British culture. They are usually pretty wild, a lot of fun, pretty crazy, and absolutely say yes to them. One tip I will say is to be wary of making friends with only expats. This can be really easy, especially at first, because expats, of course, like you, are new and they don't know anybody and they are trying to make friends and they are putting themselves out there, and that can be very easy to meet people, and I definitely think you should do that. But just be aware if suddenly you are only friends with expats, because what happened to me was I met loads of fellow foreigners and fellow expats when I first moved to the UK. We were all looking for friends. It was very easy to become friends, and they have since all left the UK to go back to their home countries. So then you're kind of stuck back at step one. So just something to keep in mind, expats are absolutely wonderful to make friends with, and they are always looking for new friends. So certainly search them out, but just be aware if suddenly your entire friend group is only expats, you know, it might backfire basically. So don't overlook making friends with British people, although that can be tricky sometimes. It kind of feels like sometimes British people, you know, they already have friends. Maybe they're not actively looking to meet new friends. Maybe their friends are from high school or university and they are in a long-standing friend group, and it can feel really intimidating to like insert yourself into well-established friend groups. And it is tricky and it is tough and awkward and difficult, but it's not impossible. Now, what about if you're extroverted? If you are extroverted, congratulations. This is gonna be so much easier for you. And honestly, I'm jealous. I will say the pubs are a great place to meet people, especially at night, especially on the weekends or on a Friday night. You kind of have to read the room, but there will be quite a few people at the pub who are open to talking with strangers. You don't get that all the time around the UK, especially down here in the Southeast. People are a little bit more reserved. But at the pub, if you read the room, read the body language, you're probably going to find quite a few people who are up to talking to new people, and it is a great way to get to know someone. If you have any questions on how to make friends in the UK, please leave a comment down below. If you are new here, new to the UK, why not check out this video where I talk about how to get your first bank account. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.